I'm going to share with you an amazing story I heard when I was in the BJC synagogue in Boca Raton, Florida. I heard this story on Saturday, a couple of weeks ago, and this story blew my mind. Rabbi Yaakov Gibber at the synagogue delivered this amazing story. Rabbi Yaakov Gibber is the head of the synagogue. Fasten your seatbelt. You don't want to miss this one. There was a 15-year-old kid, perhaps he was 16. I don't remember the exact age of this kid. He was in the 11th grade in high school, and his grades were plummeting. They were atrocious. He was hanging out with the wrong crowd, and he was heading nowhere. He had no confidence, no faith in himself. So obviously, he didn't do great things. And as far as he was concerned, he was heading towards nowhere. He figured, I'm going to do what my friends are doing. They influence me, obviously. And I have to prove myself to them. We have to prove each other. So when I get out of here, we'll probably just go nowhere. If we're lucky, we'll end up in a McDonald's 9-to-5 job. And that is if we're lucky. He was heading nowhere. As the year came to an end, was drawing to a close, his mother turned to him and she said, why don't you do the SATs? Do the SATs, and whatever happens, happens. The kid turned to his mom and said, Mom, that's ridiculous. My grades are plummeting. I'll get a 0 if I try this. She said, you know what? Just give it a shot. Do it for my sake. I don't care what grade you get, just do it. She said, okay, I'll do it for Mom's sake. He took the SATs, and a couple of weeks later, the grade for that matter, came back, and he got a 1480 out of 1600. He was shocked. His mother was overjoyed. He was like, there must be a mistake here. It doesn't make any sense. How did I get such a high score? It's ridiculous. But you know what happened to him? A light lit up inside of him. A flame lit up inside of him. And from there onwards, he went higher and higher. He let go of those friends. They were no good for him. And he let go of them. And he started hanging out with the group of kids who were heading for greatness. He started believing in himself. He got an amazing job eventually. After going to college and university. Got an amazing job. Got married. He was successful. And he was earning 7 figures. Raking it in. Amazing. 13 years later, fast forward 13 years, he's married with children, making a ton of money, had just gone away on vacation, and he came back with his wife and children. He opens his letters, although he was hesitant to open the letters. He's like, I don't got time for this, just put it in the garbage. That was his first reaction when he saw the pile of letters that arrived. But he said to himself, I'll open the letters and pay attention to them. Perhaps something important is there. He opens a letter. It's from Princeton High School. Like, okay, cool. In the letter, the message was delivered as follows. Dear Michael, I'm not sure if his name was Michael, but for argument's sake. Dear Michael, we are sorry to notify you, but 13 children, or kids, or however they described it, I can't remember exactly, 13 kids got incorrect grades 13 years ago whilst they were in high school. And you were one of them. He was shocked. we just want to let you know that instead of 1480, you actually only got 750. He was taken aback. What do I do with this? I actually believe what they said to me. They said to me that I got it all wrong, that I'm actually quite amazing. He was shocked. Now, his first reaction was like, okay, let me go right back down to the tubes. What's the point? I'm not that smart. But then he realized, hey, I am smart. Once I started believing in myself, I proved to myself how smart I am. He took the letter, put it aside, and carried on being successful. And he moved forward in life. And he was successful and got very farther on his amazing journey of success. I heard this story from the rabbi. And I don't know if you're familiar, but in the Jewish synagogues, we have this thing called a kiddush, which is like a small little party after prayers. I approached Rabbi Gibbers and I said to him, Rabbi, you were speaking to me. You know that? When you delivered that sermon, when you said that story, you were speaking directly to me. He smiled and he said, okay, nice to hear. Every one of us is told a story. Some people are told a story of greatness. Some of us are told a story of failure. It all depends on the story we are told. Know that. It all depends on the story we tell ourselves. If you believe in yourself, you'll be successful. Obviously, it's important that we tell our children to believe in themselves. It's very, very important, and it's of vital importance that we tell our children to believe in themselves. But if you were that child who was told not to believe in yourself, if you were that child who is told that you are a failure, that you are doomed for failure, or if you are that patient whom a doctor has told you that you are going to die from cancer, you have a choice. You could either believe that doctor or believe in yourself. Recently, a family member of mine was told by a doctor that he has a short time left to live. And in the family, we all heard that and we're like, oh, scary. Can't be. No way. Short time later, this individual went to another doctor who saw the story a little differently. Just because somebody's a doctor, it doesn't mean that he knows what he's talking about. And it doesn't mean that he's not using his own analysis to pollute the situation. Just because somebody has a strong conviction, it doesn't mean that he knows what he's talking about or he's talking from a place of knowledge. Just because somebody turned to you and said, you're bad, and you believed in that, that doesn't mean that you can't change that. Of course you could change that. Of course the power is within you. You have that power inside of you. There's a God that lives inside of you. Be vertically directed. Be inner directed. And don't allow yourself to be determined by forces outside of you. Because so often those forces are polluted, are corrupted, and incorrect. You know, many of us get pulled like a magnet into believing the distorted ideas people who come from a place of authority deliver to them. Many people believe in our managers at work who come to us with a conviction which appears to be stronger than our own. We believe in that and we get drawn into it. We believe them and when we try to argue our case, we see how strong they are and how manipulative they are and how forceful they are in their convictions. And we get drawn into it like a magnet. We get pulled, and pulling out of it takes a lot of effort. Just because somebody has a strong conviction, just because everybody tells you that you are a failure, it doesn't mean that's true. And just because somebody with a strong conviction and confidence turned to you with a gaslighting technique or with any other means of manipulation and control and unkindness and said to you that you are a garbage pail, I'm using that term perhaps in a light manner because people use it. Actually, the rabbi who spoke in the synagogue, I never used that term, a garbage pail. It's an American term. In any case, just because somebody turned to you and said to you, you're garbage, you're doomed for failure, you're worthless, I don't care how many books you read, you're worthless, you're not worth anything. It doesn't mean that that individual, despite his faults, despite his conviction, despite his confidence, knows what the hell he's talking about. I don't use words like hell lightly, but in this case I will, because I want to drive across a point. Just because nobody believes in you yet, it doesn't mean that you're not heading for greatness. You know, in my life, there have been quite a few individuals who turned to me and said, you're nothing, you're not worth anything, I'll smash you. There was one individual who I was very close to, said to me, I pray for you to die. There's no purpose for you here. You don't belong in this world. Certain individual, I won't mention any names, those of you who know a little bit about my life probably guess by now who I'm in reference to. I'm not a garbage pail. And I could survive, I have survived, after so much neglect, after so much desertion, after being abandoned by so many people. I've survived despite all that. And you too could survive all that. You too could go higher, ascend, transcend, and connect with your godly spark. Even if now nobody recognizes your greatness, and everybody around you is telling you that you are worth nothing, you can still do it. And sometimes those people who are looking at you and telling you you're not worth anything, they have polluted glasses and they have no life experience to actually know how great you are. Remain strong, remain confident, remain within your conviction, and don't fall for somebody's tinted glasses, for somebody's unkind, not very positive outlook on your life. This 11th grader, I called him Michael. Everybody told him he's doomed for failure. He's heading nowhere. Nobody saw his greatness. But coincidentally, he got an incorrect mark on his test, on his SATs, which he believed in, and used that mark to build himself higher and higher, even though that mark was incorrect. Because he believed in himself. It's all about inner belief. Be vertically directed. Be inner directed. Again, and even if nobody recognizes your greatness, even then, and despite that, believe in yourself. Go farther and farther and farther, higher, transcend into your inner belief in your success, because you are worth it. You know, in a couple of days, the beautiful festival of Passover will be ushered in. Many Jews from around the world will be celebrating Passover. What is Passover about? Passover is about getting out of those narrow straits, that narrow belief system, and taking yourself up to a higher plateau. And even if nobody recognizes, nobody acknowledges you for who you are, Nonetheless, push forward. Do it, because it's worth it. In my life, even at this current point in time, very few people recognize me as a human being. The majority of people in my life think I'm not worth very much. They disrespect me. They're not kind. But, I'm beginning to be a force to be reckoned with. And although it's still on a subliminal level, they're beginning to realize that's not the same person who we disrespected in the past. Nonetheless, when somebody works from a place of ego, has very little training and understanding of how the psychic works, and is unaware of the fact that I am very bright, and I spent years of studying. I read a lot of books, and I know how people's minds work. So I'm actually aware of how they are working and what's polluting them. And I'm aware of the fact that they are fighting their inner demon. And that polluted glasses, those filtered tinted glasses, is all they're looking through whilst they judge me. I have very few people in my life who recognize me for my greatness. Is that going to stop me? Not a chance. The majority of the people in my life, they just about recognize me as a human being. Transgender? Scary. Rather hide from that. I can't. And then there are those who know I'm going places. They see I'm reading books like crazy. They'd rather fight me. But not for long. Change is happening. And I'm excited about the changes happening in my life. And I know that eventually I'll be laughing at those who laughed at me. I'll be laughing at those who made fun of me, who mocked and ridiculed me. And I know how the mind works, and I know that things take time, and I'm not in the perfect place yet, but I'm getting there. I'm also aware of the fact that those people who mocked and ridiculed me, they won't be around when I reach my place of greatness. And I don't need them to be around. I don't care. I know how the mind works, and I don't need to prove myself to anybody. I just need to prove myself, who I am, how amazing I am. And you too, you need to prove to yourself how amazing you are, what an amazing value you are to yourself and to the world around you. Don't look at the people outside of you who probably never recognize you for who you are. Rather, take yourself to a plateau, to a place where you're not around those people any longer. Allow them to stay where they are. Don't get involved. Allow them to fold up in their little corner there, do whatever they have to do, seeing you as a failure, believing you as a failure, and move forward to a higher plateau. Be inner directed, be vertically directed. When you're vertically directed, when you're inner directed, when you push yourself to higher plateaus in order to prove to yourself who you are, not to prove to somebody else, you go places, you transcend, you go higher, you get liberated. And that's what Passover is about. It's about self-liberation. It's about inner growth, inner transcendence. And it's about removing yourself from slavery. Many of us are enslaved to this concept of I have to prove myself to somebody else. In order to be me, I have to prove that, hey, I'm actually very great. And I have to fight the ego. There's separation between us. Don't do that. Don't believe in separation. Don't care for separation. Understand that those people who believe in separation are likely to remain in separation. Rather, transcend, ascend, bring yourself to a higher plateau because you're worth it. You have great value. You're a great asset to yourself. And you'll be a great asset to yourself and the people around you when you believe in yourself more and more. It's been over a year now that I've been reading from amazing books. A couple months since I've written an amazing book myself. And I'm getting places. I'm excited for my future. I love you all. Have a great weekend. Know yourself. Believe in yourself. And know that your inner spark deserves to be ignited and pushed upward, forward. And know that you're going to get there. I love you. Have a great weekend, a great Shabbat, and a a great Passover ahead and a great week ahead. For those of you who celebrate Easter, have a great, great festival. And for those of you who celebrate Passover, enjoy the Seder. You're worth it. You are important, and I love you.